Hello, when I was filming the review of Shanling's new M6 Pro 21 version, I thought that I need to create a separate video about these three players. So it's three current flagships of upper mid segment, or let's name it another way, three players you can buy for $800. When I last checked the prices, all three cost absolutely same amount of money, and they all offer pretty similar set of features. It's three Android players with streaming support, with Bluetooth, Wi-Fi and so on. They have a lot of similarity in terms of features, like they all can work as digital transports, as digital to analog converters, they can be receivers, transmitters of Bluetooth, they all have Android, you can install applications, UAPP, streamings and so on and so forth. But also they have a few noticeable differences in terms of design, in terms of ideas, in terms of firmware and sound. So I decided to make this overview and to show you all three these players and to tell about them. I want to say in advance that it won't be a ranking, I won't say which one is best, so all three are really great and it's a matter of your preferences, what you need in terms of sound and what you need in terms of features, so it's just a starting point for your analysis if you're thinking about buying the player in this segment. And let's have a closer look. Let's probably start with the smallest player, but actually I must admit that subjectively I like this design most of all. It's HiBy R6 New or R6 2020, name depends, but it was announced, as you can easily guess, in 2020 and definitely showed that HiBy moved back from their traditional design and from their traditional sound. In terms of, probably let's start with some technical specifications. It's built with Snapdragon 660 chipset. It runs Android 9 with a few additional tweaks by HiBy, and of course it uses HiBy Music as a main player. It uses dual ES9038Q2M as digital to analog converters. It has a redesigned amplifier, if I remember specs right, 250 mW for single-ended output and 750 for the balanced. So pretty impressive specs for such a small player. Work time is about 8 hours, 7 to 8 from the balanced output depending on the load, and 9 to 10 hours from the single-ended. In terms of design, it definitely built with the same idea that was used in their R8 flagship. That masculine design with EG4 shapes, it really feels solid in hand. There are three buttons for playback control, on-off button, LED indicator. Here is microSD slot, it has 64 GB of onboard memory, but you can extend it with microSD cards. Here is a knob for volume control with nice well-defined clicks, so here everything works nicely. On the bottom there is a big set of outputs and USB. So USB here is universal, you can get all that features that you can expect from the player, and it has headphones output single-ended and pentacon balanced, and line out single-ended and pentacon balanced, so you can get balanced line out here. Back panel is just plastic, but I think it's okay here. And front panel is occupied with almost edge-to-edge screen, 1080p resolution, good viewing angle, so really good, nice screen. It runs Android with additional tweaks and customizations, probably the most important. Of course it has a system to bypass resampling, and the most important one is for those who like tweaking the sound, you can use HiBy's signature MSEB to tweak the sound in many aspects, and it works system-wide, so it will affect not only the built-in player but also all applications you'll install here. And here is HiBy Music. It's traditional, I covered it many times. I don't think it requires some additional talking about that. So it's convenient, nice, modern player, and actually it's the player that brought HiBy their popularity, because they created this player and even before they started offering hardware solutions. In terms of sound, it's natural, really precise, fast, accurate, focused on the micro detalization, pretty nitpicking for those who need natural monitoring representation with good resolution, with spacious stage, and with a focus on the micro contrast. Also, it's universal in terms of drivability, but actually all these three players can drive a lot of load, starting with power-hungry headphones and ending with sensitive in-ear monitors. It has low background noise, but it says it's the same for all these three players. Next one is Shanling M6 Pro version 2021. Partially it was a forced upgrade, because Shanling has to switch to from the AK digital tonal converters to the ES, and this player is built using two ES 9068, but Shanling did their job brilliantly, and they managed to squeeze the maximum of sound from this player and make them one of the most unusual players of this segment. It's also really powerful. From the balanced output, it can output up to 750 milliwatts, and it's the most long working player here. From the balanced output, you'll get from 11 hours and more, depending on the load, from single-ended up to 15, and they also have a special feature. You can disable one of two digital tonal converters and get even more work time from the single-ended out. But to be honest, I don't like how sound changes there. Change is not drastic, but it's definitely audible, and full potential is unveiled only with two digital tonal converters. And it's built with Snapdragon 430, it runs Android 7 with Shanling's solution for applications to bypass resampling, and it supports also MQA, they all support MQA, and so on and so forth, so it's not not much difference here. In terms of design, it's a typical Shanling player with their shape, with rounded sides, with that notches for more convenient hold. Here are three volume control buttons, micro SD slot covered with this cover. It has 64 gigabytes of flash memory and 4 gigabytes of RAM. On this side there is a on-off button and also screen lock, and it's also a volume control. Here use nice encoder, and it's really convenient to operate. Shanling was one of the pioneers of using the clicking encoders. LED indicator, and on the bottom here is USB, two balanced output, 2.5mm connector and Pentacon, and regular 3.5mm connector. And screen is not edge to edge, but pretty nice, with good viewing angles, nice brightness, pretty responsive, and so on. Android 7, you can install Play Store from the, I didn't sign in, but you can install Play Store from the APK Pure and it will work. And as usual, traditionally some basic audio settings that you can expect here. And here is Shanling Music, also pretty familiar player with nice media library organization, nice design, and works in a pretty convenient way, so it's traditionally well done for the Shanling. In terms of sound, it's the most unusual from these three ones. It's highlighting dynamics, it's highlighting emotions. It's a player for those who like a bit of a more added fun sound. It reminds actually their flagship M8 in terms of representation, and of course, despite of boosted dynamics and emotions, it still offers a pretty good resolution and technical sound thanks to the recent digital tonal converter chips by ESS. So it's the player for those who want a fun, engaging representation with stylish design, and also I must admit that I like this back panel made of glass, and it feels really pleasant. So, and also it features really good black background, it can drive power hungry headphones, so all that parts are here too. And also it has a really long lasting battery. And last but of course not the least is FiiO M11 Plus limited edition. It's limited because FiiO announced that they have some stock of AK4497 digital to analog converters, and they will produce this player as long as this supplies last. And then they will switch to some other digital to analog converter. Also here they utilized their signature solution with THX AAA amplification. It delivers about 200 mW for 32 ohms load from the single-ended output and more than 580 mW for the balanced output. Work time starts from 10 hours from the balanced output and 11 hours for the single-ended. It uses Snapdragon 660, 4GB of RAM, 64GB of flash memory, so really fast, snappy and interesting player. In terms of design, it reminds FiiO's M11 and M11 Pro, but a bit bigger. And the most interesting thing here, they switched from the volume wheel to this unusual sensor panel. So you can swipe it to change the volume, or you can click it as buttons. It works both ways. FiiO provided few additional options, so you can swipe and hold to increase volume, swipe and hold to decrease. Few interesting ideas implemented here. In design they used this 6 hexagonal comb-like shapes. Here is the on-off button with a LED indicator outside, and they even introduced a custom button that you can change the role of this button via settings. Here are playback controls, so with also hardware hold button could be convenient for many usages, and the microSD card is done in this tray-like design. On the bottom here is USB and balanced headphones output and single-ended line out headphones output. So it has 3 headphones output, and also it has single-ended and balanced line out. And also it can work as coaxial output, and USB can do all that stuff we used to. It has nice screen, resolution is 720p, but it has good viewing angles, looks well, and has really good viewing angles, responds to touches also nicely. In all aspects it's pretty good. Here used Android 10 with few additions from FiiO. Traditionally it has additional options and buttons. They have All2DSD upsampling version, in-vehicle mode and many other stuff. Also FiiO highlighted that they support Play Store and Apple Music for this player, and that's a good plus for me. FiiO Music is also one of the most advanced players available in the market, with good UI, UX and a lot of trendy fancy options here. In terms of sound, it's a pretty neutral player with slightly highlighted emotions, but not as much as here, with a bit hint of additional weight to give the proper body for the instruments and so on. And in terms of sound, it's probably somewhere in between of these two players, closer to HiBy R6, being more on the natural side without highlighting dynamics as much as M6 does. It's a bit less powerful comparing to these two players, but let's be honest, for almost all headphones 480 milliwatts will be also more than enough, and just a few really power hungry models will benefit from that additional output. And also with sensitive in-ear monitors it offers nice black background and so on. And also need to admit that I really like this back panel design. It gathers fingerprints like crazy, but also I really like that. I mean, not I like that it gathers fingerprints, I like the design of this back panel, of course. So I really hope that this review was useful for you. I did my best to provide the quick overview. If you're interested in more details, I will add links to the reviews in the description. I reviewed all these players, so there is an extended version of videos on YouTube. And looking forward new releases of this year, and in the future we need more players, we need more competitions on this market to get better and better solutions and see what future will bring us. Thank you for listening, thank you for your attention, and of course have a nice day.